You're born in Nanjing in the mid-1920s, where the river bends slowly and the city still believes it has time. Your earliest memories are small and ordinary. Damp stone under bare feet in the courtyard. The smell of rice porridge thickening on the stove before sunrise. Laundry snapping softly in the winter wind. From the street comes the steady rhythm of footsteps, cartwheels, voices that sound familiar enough to ignore. As a girl, your world is narrow, but stable. It feels contained. It feels survivable. And for now, that seems like enough. Your father leaves early each morning, his coat smelling faintly of tobacco and dust. Your mother keeps the house quiet, not out of fear, but habit. You learn to fold cloth neatly, to lower your eyes when strangers pass, to move quickly without drawing attention. In the afternoons, you sit near the doorway with other girls, mending hems, listening to the city breathe. Sometimes laughter escapes before anyone remembers to stop it. Sometimes the air feels heavier for no clear reason. No one explains that feeling. No one has to. Even before anything changes, you sense it. This life is standing still in a place where stillness never lasts. A life before history arrived. You wake before the sky changes color. Water hits clay in steady scoops. The sound travels through the courtyard and settles into your sleep without waking you fully. When you open your eyes, the room is still gray. Your feet find the floor by memory alone. The stones are always cold. They always will be. In the kitchen, rice steams quietly. No one rushes it. Your mother folds yesterday's clothes, pressing creases flat with her palms. She fixes your collar twice, then once more for no reason. Outside, the river carries voices from the early vendors. They argue, bargain, laugh. The words blur together. You don't need to understand them. You walk the same path to school every day. You know which stones wobble. You know where the wall crumbles if you drag your fingers along it. Sometimes you race other children. Sometimes you lose on purpose so no one complains. The city feels scaled to your body. Doors are the right height. Steps fit your stride. At school, you copy characters until your wrist aches. Chalk dust coats your fingers and leaves white marks on your clothes. The teacher taps the desk when the room grows loud. Order returns easily. It always does. During breaks, you trade snacks and secrets that don't matter. You assume there will always be another break. When lessons end, you hurry home because evening follows a pattern. Your father repairs things that don't need repair yet. A loose hinge, a cracked stool. He tests each fix, pressing harder than necessary. When it holds, he nods once. That seems to be enough. Night arrives without warning. Lanterns are lit along the river. Their reflections break and reform with the water's movement. You watch them drift past, counting until your eyes grow tired. One lantern tilts and burns unevenly. No one notices. You stop counting and go inside. When safety begins to fracture, the radio no longer feels like furniture. It hums even when no one touches it. The sound leaks into meals, into sleep, into pauses between words. Adults stand close to it with their backs turned, pretending to listen for warmth instead of meaning. When the voice rises, hands stop moving. When it fades, no one exhales. At school, absence becomes routine. A desk stays empty for a day. Then another beside it. The teacher does not ask questions. Lessons continue as if the room is still full. Chalk scratches the board slower now, stopping mid-line before finishing a character. The dust settles and stays. You notice no one cleans it anymore. The walk home stretches, not in distance, but in attention. You start avoiding certain corners without knowing why. Shops close earlier. Doors are barred while the sun is still up. People no longer linger in the street. When they speak, sentences shorten. Answers arrive late, if they arrive at all. Your father's routine slips. He eats standing. He leaves before you wake. When he comes back, he checks the latch twice, then once more. His hands smell of metal and sweat. He washes them longer than necessary. No one comments. One afternoon, carts roll past, loaded unevenly, ropes biting into wood. No one looks back when something falls. A low sound presses against the city, steady and distant. It does not announce itself. It waits. That night, the radio light stays on after the sound is gone. The voice never returns. The last days of pretend peace. You wake to the sound of hammering that stops too early. Not finished, just abandoned. Paper decorations appear along the street overnight, thinner than last year, their colors already fading. Someone is still tying knots when you pass. Another person unties one and folds it away without looking. The street keeps its shape, but the timing feels off. Inside, meals take longer to prepare. Not because there is more food, but because hands move carefully, measuring each scoop of rice. Bowls are arranged neatly, even when they hold less. People speak about the coming year as if it has already arrived. They repeat the same phrases, smoothing them flat so they don't catch. You hear the words often enough that they lose weight. You are sent on small errands that don't matter. Carry this, return that, wait here. The shops are still open, but their shelves look disturbed, rearranged too often. A window displays wooden toys behind dusty glass. You press your face close, leaving a pale mark. No one inside notices. The toys do not move. In the afternoons, soldiers march through the streets without stopping. Their boots strike stone in rhythm, steady and practiced. They never look up. When they turn a corner, the sound stays behind, repeating itself after they're gone. You listen until it fades completely. It takes longer each day. At home, paper is folded into shapes meant to be given away. The paper has already been used once. Creases cross where they shouldn't. Your mother smooths them anyway. She says nothing while doing it. At night, fireworks sound across the river. There are fewer now. Each one echoes longer, as if the sky has grown empty. One explodes late, long after the others have stopped. You wait for another. It doesn't come. The city falls. You are woken by shouting that doesn't belong to your street. It moves too fast. Doors slam and keep swinging, hitting the frame again and again. Outside, carts roll past in the wrong direction, piled unevenly, ropes biting into wood and hands. Someone drops a bundle. It bursts open. No one goes back for it. Instructions arrive without order. Stay inside, pack quickly. Don't bring much. Move now. Wait. Voices overlap and cancel each other out. By the time you understand one sentence, another replaces it. Uniforms change by the hour. Flags appear where there were none before, hung crooked, nailed in a hurry. They flap even when the air is still. Someone says civilians will be spared. Someone else repeats it louder, as if volume makes it stronger. The soldiers who were meant to stay leave first. Rifles bounce against their backs as they run. You watch them disappear down a street you know by heart. No one follows. By midday, the city no longer moves as a whole. It breaks into pockets of noise and silence. One street fills with people. The next stands empty. You cross intersections without knowing which side is safer. Smoke drifts low, undecided, settling where it finds space. It carries a smell that does not belong to cooking. As evening comes, the streets empty in a way you have never seen. Not quiet, vacant. The river sounds closer, as if the city has shrunk around it. A notice flaps against a wall, pasted upside down. You watch one corner tear loose, then another. It keeps moving even after no one is there. Hiding while the world ends. You stop moving because movement becomes a risk. The place you hide smells of damp wood and old fabric. The floor presses cold through your knees. Dust shakes loose whenever footsteps pass above, falling in thin lines that settle on your sleeves. You pull your brother closer and keep your hand over his mouth. His breath comes fast, then slower, then fast again. Time stretches without markers. There is no day or night where you are, only sound. Boots mean one thing, laughter means another. Silence means something else entirely. You learn to tell distance by vibration alone. Near sounds make the air tighten. Far sounds drift and return, never finishing their path. You do not sleep. You rest in pieces. When your legs cramp, you shift your weight an inch at a time. When your arm goes numb, you change hands without letting go. Outside, something heavy is dragged across stone. The sound breaks and resumes, breaking again until it stops. You wait for it to start once more. It doesn't. Your brother twitches against you. You tighten your grip until he stills. You do not look at his face. You listen instead. Voices pass and come back, never staying long enough to settle. When it finally goes quiet, the silence presses harder than the noise did. A drop of water falls from somewhere above, steady, then stops without warning. Walking through the dead city. You step out because staying hidden becomes heavier than moving. The light outside is wrong, too flat. The street looks wider than before, emptied of motion. Objects sit where hands let go of them. A shoe rests near the gutter, turned sideways as if it failed to choose a direction. Doors hang open, swollen and stuck. You tell your brother to stay close. He does. Too close. His shoulder presses into your side with every step. You walk because standing still feels like a signal. You avoid looking at faces, then realize there are fewer faces to avoid. The ground changes texture underfoot. Soft, then hard again. Smoke hangs low, carrying a sweet smell that does not belong to food. You pass a shop where the bell still rings when the door moves. The sound is sharp and cheerful and wrong. Inside, nothing has been taken, but nothing feels owned either. You do not stop. You repeat your promise in pieces as you walk. Stay close. Don't speak. Follow me. Each step makes the words heavier. They stop sounding like a promise and start sounding like a rule. You pass the river and do not look at the water. You know it will not give anything back. Behind you. The bell rings once more after you have already gone past. The breaking point. You stop because your body stops first, not from fear, from calculation failing. The space ahead no longer matches the steps you know how to take. The street narrows and bends in ways that do not explain themselves. Shapes block the way that are not walls and not people anymore. You hesitate once. That is already too long. Your brother waits for instruction. He looks up at you and does not speak. His mouth opens, then closes again. You do not answer him. Not because you choose silence, but because words no longer arrive on time. Your hand tightens around his wrist instead. It is the only signal that still works. Sound reaches you late. When it does, it arrives without meaning. Shouting blends with metal striking stone. A sharp noise snaps close by. You flinch after it happens, not before. Your body reacts out of order. You notice this without surprise. You begin to move in short bursts. Stop, step, turn, wait. The pattern replaces thought. When something blocks your way, you do not look for another path. You wait until the space changes or you are forced through it. Time breaks into pieces too small to count. You no longer know how long you have been standing when you stand. Your brother stumbles. His knees hit the ground. The sound is dull. You pull him up without looking at his face. His weight feels different now. He slows you down. You register this as information, nothing more. When he cries, the sound passes through you like air through cloth. It does not catch. Details sharpen while meaning dissolves. You see the grain of wood splintered cleanly. You see fabric stretched beyond its use. You see the ground keep its shape no matter what is pressed into it. You do not look away. You also do not look for understanding. Understanding would take time. At some point, you realize you are no longer waiting for help, or permission, or an ending. You are not even waiting for safety. You are responding to distance and timing alone. Closer means hide, farther means move. Everything else is noise. Your brother's hand slips in yours. For a moment, you consider letting go. The thought arrives fully formed, clean, without argument. You tighten your grip instead, harder than necessary, until you feel bone shift under skin. He gasps, but stays upright. You keep moving. The space behind you closes without marking where you were. Survival without living. You move because stopping no longer serves a purpose. Days pass without shape. Light comes and goes without marking time. You eat when something is placed in your hands. You drink when your mouth burns. Your body continues its tasks without asking you. Your brother stays close, not because you tell him to, but because distance feels unsafe. He follows the back of your steps. You no longer check if he is there. You assume it. When he is quiet, you keep moving. When he slows, you pull harder. Shelter becomes temporary by definition. Every place is something you pass through, never something you arrive at. You sleep sitting up. You wake before rest finishes. When you hear movement nearby, your body adjusts before you decide to do anything. The adjustment is small, efficient, practiced. You stop noticing hunger as a signal. It becomes a background pressure, like heat or cold. Pain behaves the same way. When your feet blister, you change how you step. When your hands split, you stop using them as much. There is no space for complaint. Complaints require an audience. People appear and disappear without names. Some speak, some stare. Some do not slow down at all. You do not track them. Tracking requires memory. Memory takes energy you cannot spare. At night, when your eyes close, images surface without order. You do not follow them. They pass on their own. Your body continues. That is the rule. Everything else has already been discarded. Bearing witness. You survive long enough for patterns to return. Not safety. Patterns. Quiet stretches. Then noise. Then quiet again. You learn where to stand so you're less visible. You learn where sound carries and where it breaks apart. You learn what draws attention and what does not. Your brother asks fewer questions. When he does speak, his voice sounds older than it should. You answer with gestures more than words. Point, pull, wait. He understands. Understanding no longer feels like something learned. It feels assumed. At some point, people with papers appear. They write things down. They look longer than others did. They ask you to repeat what you saw. You do not correct them when they choose their own words. You let them write. Writing takes time. Time keeps them still. You begin to notice that memory does not leave you alone. It returns in fragments. Sounds without sources, movements without bodies. You do not arrange them. You do not name them. You store them the way you store directions or distances, as information. When someone asks how you know, you point to the place. When they ask how many, you shake your head. Numbers require certainty. Certainty is gone. What remains is sequence. This happened. Then this. Then nothing. You stay alive long enough to be useful to someone else's record. Erased, then remembered. The city takes on new shapes. Walls are rebuilt. Streets are cleared. Names are replaced. You walk through spaces that no longer resemble themselves. People speak of before and after, as if the line between them is clean. You do not correct them. Your brother grows taller. His hand no longer fits easily in yours. Sometimes he walks ahead. Sometimes he looks back to check if you are still there. You nod when he does. You keep walking. Others begin to speak for you. They gather words and arrange them into stories that move forward. They argue about responsibility. They promise that memory will prevent repetition. You listen without reacting. Promises are not instructions. They do not change how bodies behave. The world continues. It always does. Shops open. Schools reopen. Children learn routes that no longer match yours. You carry what remains without displaying it. Display invites questions. Questions demand answers. You do not owe clarity. Years later, people stand still in places where movement once mattered. They lower their heads. They read plaques. They leave flowers that wilt on schedule. You watch from a distance and recognize none of it as belonging to you. History settles into place. You remain slightly out of alignment with it. The city remembers. The ground stays silent. You keep moving through both.